Now we're going to anchor this summit in the voices of ADTKD patients and family members to remind ourselves that that's why we're all here. We're here to learn about ADTKD, but we as the patient organization and our patient volunteers, we want to convey the urgency in finding a treatment for this currently incurable and often invisible disease. So let's turn to our first session. Patient voices. We'll begin with Cynthia and Cliff. Let's see them join us here, and then I'll do a brief introduction of them. Hello, Cliff.
Hello.
And Cynthia, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Cynthia is an RKDF volunteer. She's a member of our clinician council and a retired pediatrician. She has the MUC1 gene variant of ADTKD. Her brother Cliff is a soon-to-be-retired aerospace engineer and also has MUC1. Before I turn it over to them, I just want to remind you, if you have questions for Cynthia or Cliff, please put them in the Q&A below. All right, Cynthia?
Hello, everyone. I'll try to share my story in a concise way, and then Cliff is going to finish up our family story, I think, and then I may chime in again later. I wanted to, not to make things too complicated, but I wanted to say that we were pretty lucky in that ADTKD affected our family, what we know of the family who has it, relatively late in life. So as young kids and children, we were lucky to be free of this disease and of the knowledge of the disease. But now we know so much more, and I wanted to thank the organization for that. But I did know that I had some kind of kidney disease very early in life. I was getting routine checkups, and my urinalysis showed that I had some red blood cells in my urine, just a small amount. So I was referred to a nephrologist at about the age of 10 or 12. I can't remember exactly. And I had some evaluation and an intravenous pyelogram, which was the standard of diagnosis at that time, and it showed normal kidneys. So given that red blood cells in my urine were the only finding, I was diagnosed with probable thin basement membrane syndrome, which I was told at the time that was a benign condition. My mom probably also had it, and one or two of my brothers had it. And they were told would never cause any problems. I didn't need to worry about it. So I put it out of my mind, just something that I put on applications and medical forms and so forth when I got jobs and things. But then when I was in medical school in my 20s, my dad started having elevated creatinine, and initially his primary care doctor was not concerned, but eventually he did get referred to a nephrologist. And I remember attending one or two of those appointments with him, and my dad was otherwise very healthy, never had any problems, no diabetes or hypertension or anything like that. And I asked the doctor, what's the cause of this kidney disease? And he said, oh, probably hypertension, hypertensive nephropathy. And that didn't really satisfy me because my dad had never had hypertension. Like I say, he was otherwise very healthy, didn't take any medications at the time. So anyway, he went on to eventually require dialysis, but not until his 80s. And he was very healthy. He was on dialysis for 10 years before he died at the age of 94. But I was frustrated by that lack of diagnosis. And of course, in the back of my mind, I was always thinking, is this something that we could inherit in our family? And I did know that my dad had a first cousin who had died of kidney disease in her 40s on dialysis. Nobody knew why. There was never any diagnosis or any knowledge of any other people in our family that had it. And then in my 40s, my creatinine started to rise a little bit. And again, my primary care doctor was not concerned, probably just dehydration, don't worry about it. But I told him about my family history, my dad, and insisted that I get the tests repeated, and they were worse. And I was referred to a nephrologist at that time and was followed for many years by this nephrologist who was understandably concerned but confused because he couldn't come up with a diagnosis for me. I had many, many tests. And eventually, when I changed insurances in about 2016, my new nephrologist said, "Oh, you need to have a biopsy, first of all," because I hadn't had a biopsy yet. And of course, that biopsy showed thin basement membrane disease. So we kind of settled on that as my diagnosis. But again, I was confused and unsatisfied because I had been told that was a benign diagnosis and shouldn't cause kidney disease. And when I pressed my nephrologist about it, he said, "Well, it is in this case. It's causing cell death in some way that we don't understand." So I was, you know, I sort of settled in and that was the case. And I was a little taken aback by his lack of interest in finding the real cause. I mean, what I thought should have been another cause, because there was, well, there was no knowledge of this gene, at least by my doctors at this time. I think it had just been discovered by Dr. Blyer. And again, the diagnosis I was giving just didn't make sense to me. So that's when things started to overlap. I had another brother, our youngest brother, who started to have kidney disease at this point, and he, at this time in 2016, he was already about stage 3, stage 4, and he hadn't had any knowledge that he was losing kidney function until that time. And then I think Cliff started having problems about this time, and I'll let him take it from here, and he can tell you what happened next.
Okay, thanks, Cindy. Yeah, and just going back to the earlier time, I was probably less involved in my dad's issues with his kidneys. I mean, I knew about it, maybe not as early as Cindy did. And it was probably about 20 years ago when I was in my 40s, also early 40s. I think when I first had a high creatinine reading, and the doctor said, "Well, that's a little unusual. Maybe you were working out, maybe you were dehydrated. We'll do it. We'll take another measurement." But no real concern. And just over the years, going to physicals every year or two, and every year the creatinine was up a little bit. It's very, very slow progression. Again, my primary care doctor wasn't too concerned about it. I mean, he was monitoring it. And I knew about Cindy's issues, and of course, as well as my dad's by that point. So this was probably 2017 or 2018, I think, when I said, well, I should probably start seeing a nephrologist. And he gave me a referral to the nephrology department. I picked a nephrologist and saw him a couple times. Again, there wasn't a real diagnosis. My blood pressure was a little bit elevated. He gave me the advice, just drink plenty of fluids, try and drink 2 liters a day, avoid red meat, things like that. And a year or two later, he retired, and I got a new nephrologist. And well, I guess I should mention too, at the time I first saw a nephrologist, I told Cindy about it, and she told me about our other brother, Ken, who also had kidney disease. I had no idea at the time what his issues were. So I think I let the first nephrologist know that. He didn't seem too concerned, but then when I got the new nephrologist and told him about the family history, he looked up Dr. Blyer's papers about the different genetic causes for kidney disease, for ADTKD or for TKD. And at that point too, I had also had a kidney biopsy before him with the old nephrologist, not on his suggestion, but just because I'd known Cindy had a biopsy, and I thought maybe we'd learn something from that. It turned out that the interpretations of our biopsies were a bit different. I had nephron death and interstitial fibrosis. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't too much there, but once I had the new nephrologist and sent my samples off to Wake Forest and to the Broad Institute, that was in 2019, in around April or May. And then in the meantime, our dad passed away that year in September. And so after that, I started asking, have we had any results back from this testing yet? And I think it was in October that I got the call from Dr. Blyer, found out I had MUC1 disease. So since then, kind of just been dealing with it. It's just hanging over my head. It didn't have a big effect at first. It was certainly nice to know what was going on, and then to be part of RKDF and the community, meet other people with the same condition.
Yeah, and I can add, as soon as Cliff got his results back, Dr. Blyer said, we need to test the rest of your family. So I was tested, and my mother was tested. She was still alive, and my two daughters were tested eventually. And my mom does not have the condition, so we assume that it came from my dad. And my two daughters both have it as well. So it was just such, I have to say for myself, such a relief to finally have an answer and to know what was causing the disease, even though there's no cure. We at least had some sense of closure, at least I did. And I'm really grateful for that. And I wrote back to my old nephrologists, both of them, and my primary care doctor, and I told them exactly what was going on and hopefully helped educate them a little bit too. And I've had a transplant now in September, and doing very well, thank goodness. And thank God for the living donor transplant program for the National Kidney Registry that got me a transplant within 3 weeks signing up. And I was lucky to have a friend who was willing to donate on my behalf. So I was very lucky. And my brother Ken had a transplant in 2020, and he's doing very well as well.
Yeah, and I'm probably on track in a few years. I'll probably be next.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm really motivated to find some kind of treatment for this disease because both my adult daughters have it, and my one daughter has two children who haven't been tested, but very good chance that one of them could have it. So I think that's all I have to say about you, Cliff.
Yeah, I just want to say too, I'm grateful for the all the researchers and doctors and scientists who are working on this. So. And it's been great. Met some of them at the Kidney Week, American Society of Nephrology. Is that right? In San Diego a couple of years ago. So.
And you had the chance to visit the researchers in Czechoslovakia too when you were there, right?
Yes, we did. On a trip to Prague, I did meet Stan Kmock and Martina Zivna, and they showed us their lab, and they were very, very nice. It's a great time.
Yeah, and I was lucky to be able to visit Dr. Blyer at his lab as well a few years ago. That was really fun.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your stories. I didn't know you had met Stan and Martina over there in Prague. That's amazing. They're doing such amazing work along with Dr. Blyer. I just had a question, and then we'll see if there are questions from the audience. Given the stage you are each now, so you're pre-transplant, Cynthia, I'm guessing you're then stage 4 or 5.
No, I had a transplant in September.
Oh, you had just this past. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So how are you feeling? This is my question. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Great. Yeah. Yeah, some minor side effects from the medications, but I'm feeling I have more energy and sleeping better and just generally, I mean, psychologically, I'm feeling much better.
Yeah,
Just it's great to get it over with and be on the upswing instead of the downswing.
yeah, I understand. And Cliff, how about you? So you're pre-transplant. Are you
I am
stage
pre-trans,
4?
stage 4, yeah. So yeah, I mean, initially, really, I was in good health, didn't feel anything, but in more recent years, definitely feel more fatigue. I've had other medical issues, having to take a lot of pills. Some of it related to the kidney disease, some of it probably just related to getting older. Um,
You've had
but
gout too, associated with it, right?
yeah, gout's one of those. But yeah, really, the thing I've noticed, I think, is a little bit more fatigue than normal. Out hiking or working in the yard, or it just can get fatigued very easily. Yeah, and yeah, another thing, a little bit of temperature sensitivity as well. I chill
Mm-hmm.
easily,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Yeah,
think
Well, and I
that's
can relate to all of that for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, I have my little heater down here in the basement in case I get cold. But well, let me turn it over to Lisa to see if we have any questions from the audience.
We have a scientific question, but also a comment, and it says, sounds like your family has almost all inherited the mutants. Very sorry about that.
we have one brother who's unaffected. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and Sharon, so the rest of the question is more for the science side, so I'll probably save that for later.
Okay. Okay.
And that's
Yeah,
it for questions.
related to that, I could mention that I've done a little bit of genealogical research, and it doesn't seem like there's any early deaths in Dad's ancestry, really. I
Well,
mean, his
except for that
parents.
one cousin.
Yeah, the one cousin.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm in the process now of drilling my cousins that I do know to try to find any other relatives that we might have in our extended family that
Right.
might have had kidney disease, particularly people who are related to that one cousin of Dad's. But I'm not getting very far. We lost track of people. But no, we haven't heard of any others. No.
And I've turned to Ancestry to see and death records and things, but even that, um, either they don't know that it was kidney disease. When you go back far enough, it's not going to say that was the cause. And
Yeah.
so at that point, it really is, was it an early death or, and I came from a large family, so you do have the opportunity to see more people in a single generation, which is a
Hmm.
clue. But it really is hard, I think, to track back because they just don't know a lot of times what was the ultimate cause of death
Hmm.
or,
Or they
you know,
had kidney disease, but it was due to something else because they were pretty
right.
benign. Yeah.
Right. Well, if we have no more comments or questions for Cynthia and Cliff, I just want to thank you again for joining us today.
Oh,
Um,
I'm sorry to interrupt. There is another question and it's a great one. So do you mind if I ask them really
oh,
quick?
please. Yeah.
Okay. It says, I'm curious if you had genetic counseling before or after getting tested. If so, was it helpful?
Uh,
I did not. Yeah.
I did see a geneticist at one point, but truthfully, she wasn't able to tell me as much as Dr. Blyer told me. And he was the one who was the best counselor for me in terms of helping me get the rest of my family members tested. I mean, there really isn't anything that can be done, and I don't think there's any prenatal testing yet. Um, so, no, I didn't really have any formal genetic counseling.
What about the question?
And just to follow up on that, would it have been helpful? I mean, had you known it was available before, during, after, um, do you think that would have been helpful to talk to someone?
Sure. Sure. I mean, maybe we would have had an earlier diagnosis, but again, that wouldn't make a lot of difference in the eventual outcome. I think once there's a treatment or some kind of medication, it'll be much more important, especially if it's something that young people can take.
Yeah. All right, Lisa, any other questions?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, thanks again, Cliff and Cynthia, for being here, for being part of the foundation. You know, we couldn't do what we do without, dedicated volunteers like you, people committed to the cause, because unfortunately you've experienced it personally. So again, I thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.